What's going on YouTube? My name is Jason. If you're new to my channel, welcome. In this video I want to talk about some of the benefits and detriments of getting a concealed carry license in Florida, because if you don't know, Florida has been a permitless carry state since July 1st, 2023. So it's been about a year and a half now that we've had this permitless carry. Thing is, a lot of my family and friends come to me, since I'm the gun guy that most of them know. They ask my take on it, how I feel about the permitless carry. And I kind of want to get into that, because a lot of people ask still, like, hey, Jay, should I get a concealed carry? Should I not? Should I, so I'm going to kind of talk about the pros and cons of getting one, why you should get one or why you shouldn't get one, and you can kind of make your decision ultimately. So the main misconception with what we have right now in Florida, which is permitless carry, gets confused often with constitutional carry. We don't have constitutional carry in Florida as of right now. Constitutional carry allows you to keep and bear arms in an open or concealed manner. Florida does not have that. We are allowed to open carry under certain circumstances, which I have actually done a video on. If you guys are interested in knowing how to do that, I'll put it up top. But the short story of that is it has to be either hunting, camping, or fishing, and it has to be going to or from or engaged in those activities with no further stops in between. Open carry in the state of Florida was banned in 1987 thanks to Janet Reno, and it has not yet been reinstated. We are fighting for it. I have signed petitions, and I have tried to get other people to jump on board. Florida has a lot of wilderness, so it is beneficial to be able to open carry, but that's a whole nother story and off topic of this video. Let's get back into what this video is actually about. So don't get constitutional confused with permitless. Florida is not a constitutional carry state. Okay, so let's get into it. So basically, first off, let's explain how you can actually go about getting a concealed carry license in the state of Florida. So the easiest way to do it is you would go to a concealed carry course or a basic pistol training course, and then they give you a certificate, something like this. So you get this, then you go to the Department of Agriculture. They take your fingerprints, they take your picture, you pay for it. Everything between the class and the Department of Agriculture typically comes out to a little bit over 200 bucks, but depending on where you go, you can get a little bit cheaper, or it may cost a little more depending on who your instructor is. If you are in South Florida and you actually need someone to do your classes, hit me up on Instagram at FL Tactical. I can point you in the right direction. My friends over at Restless Warriors on Instagram actually do the classes for this. I did mine on my 21st birthday. I did the course about a month and a half before my birthday. Then when I turned 21, I went to the Department of Agriculture with my girlfriend that day. We both got our concealed carry licenses. It took about 2.5 weeks for it to come in the mail. So it wasn't a long process. They used to take longer. The reason why I suggest that everyone goes and gets a certificate on their own and then takes it to the Department of Agriculture is because my cousin, for example, did it through one of those concealed carry classes where they do everything for you and ship the fingerprints off for you and everything like that. It took about 9 months and they lost his fingerprints like 3 times, and I've heard a few horror stories like that. So for me, I got mine in 2.5 weeks. The easiest way for me was just get the certificate, do it on your own, go to the Department of Agriculture, set your own date and everything, and get your stuff done in person. That way you know that everything was facilitated properly and you don't have to have a middleman. That's the easiest way to do it. And yeah, some of the classes, they may offer you a little deal if you do it with them, but I prefer doing it that way. It was like 100 and some change at the Department of Agriculture, and I paid like another 80 to 100 bucks for the course. Once you do that process, you get your concealed carry license in the mail. They'll send it out to you, and it's valid for 7 years, so all you have to do is renew it after that. Now you guys understand the differences between permitless carry versus constitutional carry, and you also understand how to go about getting your concealed carry license in the state of Florida. Now let's talk about the pros and then the cons. So there are quite a few pros when it comes to getting a concealed carry license in the state of Florida. I always tell people I think you should do it regardless of whether you have permitless or not, and here's why. So I personally have taken a few training classes, and I train quite a bit. I shoot quite a bit. I train with different people. So I definitely handle firearms more than the average person. But the average person you see, they go to the range maybe once a year or maybe once in the course of 2-3 years. So the average person that goes to the range, they typically don't know gun safety properly. They don't know how to properly handle a firearm. And this isn't everybody, but the vast majority of people I see at the range really don't know what they're doing. And that even includes some law enforcement officers or military personnel who just had training and basic training or through the police academy. Like my dad's a cop, for example, and he knows gun safety, he can shoot. But I have also seen a lot of cops on the other hand, they only have to shoot once a year to qualify with their weapon. Some of them barely qualify, some of them can't really handle a firearm that well. I've seen a bunch of videos, a bunch of different things. So a lot of people generally can't handle firearms or aren't as safe around firearms as they think they are. So just even taking this basic course, which isn't that deep into firearm ownership or handling a firearm, can really teach you some life-saving things in terms of how to handle a gun properly, the main rules of gun safety, how to properly hold and shoot the gun. For example, I had a friend, we were at the range one time, and he's like, yeah, no, I'm good, man. I know what I'm doing. Okay, cool. He's holding the gun like this. Like, that's, if you guys, any of you holding a gun like this, that's not the proper way to hold a gun. Please go get some proper training, or go to a course, or just, you know, seek out some help. Even look up some videos on YouTube, you know. Hit me up on Instagram. I'll try to help you out. But holding a gun like this is not the proper way. Holding it like this is not the proper way to hold a firearm. So my point is, a lot of you that I see on Instagram or YouTube are doing things like this, and you think it's the proper way to hold a gun when it's not. So that's why I think, first, this CCW class, some of them are more in depth than others depending on who's teaching it. However, even if it's just the basics, it can save your life in terms of being able to defend and use the gun better. And it can also save your life by instilling some safety habits that are very necessary when dealing with weapons. The second pro I would say to getting a concealed carry license is court. So a lot of people don't really think that far ahead. It's like, yeah, I have a gun, I'll shoot somebody if I have to. And a lot of people also get, you know, really amped up and trigger happy, which is a whole nother problem in of itself. But a gun is not something that you use to boost your ego. It's a last ditch thing that you use if your life is truly in danger. I and everybody that I'm close with that carries a firearm, we don't want to use it on anybody. I really don't want to have to use it. When you're carrying a firearm, you really want to have good de-escalation skills and have a level head. If you feel like you are a hothead, you probably shouldn't carry a firearm. So you should work on your anger management first. We're not all perfect, but don't go out the house thinking like, I want to use this today, because it's not for that. You really don't want to end a human life if you don't have to, because it's just not something that you should want to do. You know, it's just for you to be able to get home at the end of the day. That's what that's for. It's a last ditch thing. If somebody tries to fight you, try to de-escalate, walk away, the gun shouldn't be the first thing that you pull out. But that being said, I don't think court gets talked about enough. So when you go to court for using your firearm, right? Let's say you have a district attorney who really wants to nail you to the cross and just, right? Not every self-defense scenario is cut and dry. In Florida, we have a lot of help because we do have a castle doctrine and we have a stand your ground law, so it makes it a lot easier. And you can also use deadly force in terms of protecting yourself from animals and even protecting your animal. I saw somebody actually just shot a pit bull at the dog park a couple of days ago because it was attacking his golden doodle, and he didn't get arrested or anything like that because of Florida statutes. The news even said that you're able to do that. But a lot of people don't think about it. You know, there are a lot of self-defense scenarios that you can end up in that is not cut and dry self-defense. Luckily, we are in a very pro 2A state that has great laws, but that still does not fully save you. So if a prosecutor is coming after you, right, and the thing is it's you versus them, and then they have to try to convince the jury to come to a verdict, it looks a lot better in court if you actually have a concealed carry license, because it shows you that at least you went the extra mile to go get some training, some form of training. If you don't have a concealed, you can train all you want in the world, right? You could train with some of the best, but if you don't have a concealed carry license and you end up shooting somebody and now they want to try you for whatever reason, right? You don't really have anything to show for that training. So they may use that against you, like, oh, well, you weren't trained, or you didn't, you know, this and that. Because they also talk about in the classes de-escalation and when you can and can't use your firearm. That's a big part of the class. So you taking that class shows the court system that you at least did your due diligence to try and do it the right way and try to properly learn the laws and learn how and how not to carry a firearm. You could know, and a lot of people do, but it's better to get a concealed carry license for that reason. So if you have to go to court, that's a great thing. Another thing people don't talk about too, I have concealed carry insurance with USCCA. They have had some controversy in the past year or so, but there are plenty of other concealed carry insurances where if you have to go to court because you had to use your firearm, they do cover legal fees, they cover bond and jail and things like that, getting you out. So I would say look into concealed carry insurance. You don't necessarily need it, but that is something that's good to have because legal fees are expensive and a lot of people just wouldn't be able to afford legal fees, honestly speaking. But yeah, point number 2 is going to be definitely court. Keep that in mind, that if you are carrying a firearm, you want to have the court system as on your side as possible if you have to go to court. So don't put stupid stuff on your guns that you're carrying. For example, this is my Glock 22. I used to carry it. This was a police trade-in gun. I have the stock backplate for it, but you know, if you see the back there, that's what I have on it now. And this is just a trivial thing. Like, I just take this gun to the range now. But don't carry this. Don't put stupid things on your gun for concealed carry. Try to carry a gun that's as stock as possible, or don't have any crazy parts that are just gonna have a prosecutor try to, you know, just get you out of there. You can carry what you want, but I'm just advising, you know, think about how it's going to be looked at if it goes to court. They're going to try and pick everything on your gun and about your life apart. So keep that in mind. Pro number 3 is going to be reciprocity. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you get a concealed carry license from the state of Florida, it is also valid in 37 other states. So you get reciprocity with those states. So if you travel to a state that honors Florida's concealed carry license, you can carry in that state. Now, obviously, every state has different laws, so you may not be able to carry exactly how you carry in Florida. Some of them may have, you know, magazine limits, or they may say, hey, you can't ride around with an AR pistol in your car, or, you know, they may have different types of laws that Florida doesn't have, but you can still carry in those states. So if you look the list up, you can see, but it's 37 total states. It should honestly be all of them, but it's kind of stupid. Some of them have crazy laws that they don't honor, and yeah, but it makes it a lot easier when sometimes transporting firearms in certain states where you can't carry, or, you know, unless you have a license, you at least have something and you can use it in those states, which is great. And then again, that goes back to my other point of, if you do have to use your firearm in a different state, you may not have a concealed carry license there, but if you have one from Florida, you know, you at least show that you got some form of training, because some states are permitless or constitutional carry. So if you use the gun there and you have a concealed carry license from Florida, that will look better in court if you have to end up going to court. A good place to go if you're looking to see a concealed carry map is USCCA. They have a concealed carry map that shows all the different state laws and what state honors which state's concealed carry. So yes, if you do travel, it is a great thing for you to have if you want to carry in other states and not have to worry about if you can or can't carry there. As long as they honor Florida's concealed carry, you're good to go. So my last pro is going to be buying firearms. So in the state of Florida, obviously every state is different. Every state has, you know, different laws, but regardless, I don't know where it came from that people don't have to get background checks for firearms. You do, regardless of what state you're in. If you fill out a 4473, which is the form you fill out to get a firearm, you have to get a background check to buy a firearm. So I don't understand the whole universal background check thing, because we already have to get a background check for every firearm that we buy from an FFL. If you have a concealed carry license in the state of Florida, that makes it a lot easier. Some states don't have a waiting period. Like my friend lives in Tennessee. He was able to leave with his gun the same day. He bought it as long as he passed the background check, which he did, so he left within like 30 minutes. So if you live in the state of Florida and you're looking for your first firearm to conceal carry, which I actually have a video on that, so I'm going to put it up top if you guys are interested in trying to figure out, you know, how to pick out your first handgun. I have a video that can guide you in the right direction. But in the state of Florida, for something like this, a full-size rifle without a concealed carry license, this is a 3-day waiting period to get this. On the other hand, let's say, hey, I just got my concealed carry, or I'm looking at getting my concealed carry, but I want to get a gun to carry. So you're like, okay, cool, let me go buy my first pistol. This has a 5-day waiting period on it in the state of Florida. And that 5-day waiting period also apply to something like this, which looks like a rifle, but it's not. This is an AR pistol. It is legally classified as a pistol, so you could carry it as such. It's idiotic and moronic to even try to tuck this in your pants. I see some people try to do it. Some people carry like this, which is stupid, but you know, I carry this in a backpack. But something like this is still considered a pistol and will take 5 days to get. So yes, it looks like a rifle. You'd be like, damn, I should be able to get it in 3 days. Nope, you gotta wait 5. So you may be wondering, okay, how does the concealed carry license help me buy firearms, right? So say you want to get into the hobby of collecting, or, you know, buying firearms, trying different ones out. The concealed carry in the state of Florida allows you to bypass the waiting period. So like previously mentioned, if you buy it from an FFL, you still have to get a background check. That does not bypass the background check, but once you pass that background check, then you can leave with the gun the same day. As someone who likes to buy guns and shoot a lot, and I have different guns, I do buy guns fairly frequently, so it benefits me and people who are like me. I don't like the whole waiting period, so if that's something you don't mind, then, you know, more power to you. I just don't like my gun sitting in the store after I've already paid for it, because it's my property at that point. I don't want it just sitting there. That's me personally. I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way, but yeah, if you plan on getting into firearms, if you want to buy one or two, you know what I'm saying, you really don't feel the need to have a concealed carry license for any of the previous reasons I mentioned, and you don't see yourself buying more in the future, I completely understand that. A lot of people just don't want to go through the process, and a lot of people just don't buy guns like that. They're not into guns like that. They just get one or two just to have for defensive purposes. They don't do it as like a recreational shooting thing, and I understand that. But yeah, if you plan on buying multiple guns, it is very beneficial to have a concealed carry license. I will add to that though, if you do buy 2 or more guns in the course of a 5-day span, the ATF does get a notice for that, so you do with that as you will. So that kind of sums up all the pros that I feel come from getting a concealed carry license in the state of Florida. Now let's talk about the cons. I really only see 2 cons. Con number 1 is going to be the process for getting a concealed carry permit is not the most easy thing. It's not hard, but in terms of time consumption, right? If you say are a single mom just trying to defend themselves and you're like, man, you know, I have a crazy ex and I need to get a concealed carry license, the time and the process is fundamentally unconstitutional, right? Because if you don't know what the Second Amendment says, it is a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. First of all, militia is not the government. That is a group of people, a group of armed people, and well-regulated means well-trained, not regulated by the government. It then goes on to say the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So before July 1st, 2023, you could only conceal carry in the state of Florida legally if you had a concealed carry license, which is an infringement because you're preventing the right of the people to keep and bear arms, right? You're putting a stipulation like, hey, you have to do this first. And I'm not totally against it in the fact of you're at least making people go out and get trained, right? Because I see a lot, I got to touch on my previous point, the pro of getting concealed carry licenses. There are people who think they know how to handle firearms and they've never shot or even really handled one in their life. And it's like, yeah, it's simple, you just point and shoot, which is not the case. They don't know gun safety, they don't know anything, right? So you have, I saw quite a few of these people pick guns up as soon as July 1st hit and they're out carrying them right now, but they don't really know how to shoot. They're more of a liability than, you know, being able to help themselves or help anybody else. But then again, you know, criminals are going to do it anyway, so I understand it. I completely understand it, but I just wish that everyone that's out there would just at least go get some form of training, right? But the whole process was just time consuming. Let's say you're a single mom and you're like, well, I need to protect my kids. I may not have the best training, but I'd rather have a firearm on myself to at least be able to protect my kids if a 200-pound, 6-foot man comes and tries to attack me, right? I need to be able to protect myself and my kids. Can't fight him off, so I need a gun. Okay, cool. Now, when that comes prior to July 1st, 2023, that would entail you having to go get the certificate like I mentioned, and then you having to go get your fingerprints done. And it's time consuming, right? Because it's going to be typically done in 2 different days. I did them on 2 different days. So yeah, you're going to go get the certificate one day. You're going to go to the Department of Agriculture a different day. I guess you could do it the same day if you kind of schedule it to where you have one in the morning, one in the afternoon, but you know, that's kind of cumbersome. So you have to carve out 2 days out of your schedule. And then on top of that, you would have then had to wait on the state to send you out your concealed carry license. So really, you couldn't defend yourself until then. You could have a gun in your car because in the state of Florida, you're allowed to have a loaded gun in your car. The whole 3-step process was BS. A lot of cops just throw it out because they really don't know the laws. You can look around and see that they don't train them how they should. Not all cops, but a lot of them really don't know the laws. But yeah, the process is kind of long and cumbersome. It's not long, but it's cumbersome. You know, it's not made easy for people to go get. So it ends up being a thing of more of like a revenue thing, which leads me to my second con, is the price. I mean, if you're, like I said, a single mom, or you could just be a person who's struggling to get by. I mean, it's expensive. I live in South Florida. It is expensive to live here. So before July 1st, 2023, when we had permitless carry, that means, okay, you now have to spend about $200 to get a concealed carry to defend yourself outside of your home and outside of your vehicle. But what if you don't have those $200, but you still need to defend yourself, right? So you may not be trained, but you can at least, you know, if somebody comes to attack you and tries to take your life, you can defend yourself if you have a gun on you, but you don't have a chance of defending yourself if there's no gun, because likely the person trying to attack you is either a group of them, or they're armed, or they have something, or they just outsize you, they out-skill you, whatever the case may be, right? But it's expensive, you know, so a lot of people are so worried about permitless carry and, you know, people without guns carrying now, but if it was such a big deal, I feel like they should lower the price on the concealed carry, or they should offer free classes by the police station if possible. I know everything takes money, but my point is there's a solution to that can allow people to get trained but not have to pay so much money out of pocket. So I got the concealed carry for all the reasons I mentioned, and a few of them are more important than the others, but you know, a lot of people really can't afford it, and I completely understand that. So it's easier for people to just be like, okay, I don't have to go get a permit, I can permitless carry now. I may not know how to use a firearm, but at least I have a chance at defending myself, and I get that. That being said, those are pretty much my only 2 cons, so I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons, but yes, it is time consuming and it is expensive. Make sure you train, make sure you shoot. Don't just pick your gun up one time and go shoot it and call it a day. Train. If you carry something, train. At the end of the day, that is what is protecting you, your family, and whoever else you're with, right? Your friends. So please be proficient with it. Makes it a whole lot safer when you actually know how to use your weapon. And please keep in mind that you are not John Wick. Most of us are not John Wick. I shoot a lot more than the average person, and I understand that I'm not John Wick. And Also understand that when stuff actually gets real and you have adrenaline going through your body, your fine motor skills are like cut in half. You revert to your worst training. So if you have none, yeah, you know, people still get the job done sometimes, but you're not going to be as good as you think you are when stuff actually goes down. So it's important to train and train properly. You don't want to train bad habits. Try to, you know, always better yourself. So you guys, like I said, need any help or anything, drop it in the comments. Go to my Instagram. Let me know if I missed anything. Let me know about any future topics you want to hear me talk about. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one.